All right, Brad, we are here. We have a guest. When's the last time we had a guest?
Oh, it's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a
This
while.
is an honor because it's been so long. It's just you and I usually just yammering back and forth, but now we have a pro, so we have to
Yes,
be
exactly.
professional now.
So let us introduce you to that guest, Justin Allegri. You can see the San Jose State logo there in the background. Give us your credentials here. Where are people listening to you these days?
First of all, thanks for having me on. I feel so much tremendous pressure now that that I'm your first guest in a while. But yeah, it's fun to be on with you guys. San Jose State football and basketball on 860 AM KTRB for all of our games, and we also stream on our San Jose State Athletics app for all of our games. That's probably the easiest way for fans in the area to get it. We have a package with NBC Sports Bay Area, which we have some games televised as well this year. It included 2 football games and 6 men's and women's basketball games and some other sports as well. So trying to get that brand out there, and that's the easiest way you can see us or listen to us.
So Justin and Brad and I were talking off air, but Brad and I are also San Jose State grads, and what's awesome about this connection here is Brad, was running the sports department on the radio side back in the day, and he would let me come on the weekend shows every once in a while to say hi. But I love the connection because you're doing an extension of what Brad and I did. Gosh, how many years now, Brad? 25? Is that how long it's been?
Yeah. A lot of gray between then.
So no, it's near and dear to our hearts, obviously, Spartans, and we're going to talk a little bit about San Jose State because they are going to a bowl game this year. And I saw a tweet of yours that said that the men's basketball team was off to a pretty good start as well. So we'll do that, but you're also a Giants fan, so we're going to sprinkle in some Giants stuff as well for the time that we have you.
Yeah, I think this is like the perfect marriage of Spartans and Giants because I was also at the student station running the sports department in my time at San Jose State, and then lashed on as a full-time employee. But I also do some San Jose Giants baseball with Joe Rizzo, who's their primary voice. So yeah, it's kind of best of both worlds, I guess, for this one. I'm throwing off your feng shui though. I don't have any Giants apparel in the back.
Yeah, it's all right.
A bunch of bobbleheads, but they're just off camera.
No, it's totally fine. Okay, so I talked to. I would imagine you're pretty familiar with this name. The writer, one of the college football writers from The Athletic, Chris Vanini.
Mm-hmm.
I chatted with him the other day, and I asked him. I said, "Okay, San Jose State, they are in a bowl this year. Or is it Eastern? Who are they playing?
Michigan.
Eastern Michigan." And I was like, give me some good news. Give me some good juju here. I know they're favored. And, he hasn't watched a lot of Spartans this year, but he was more familiar with the team that went to the bowl a couple years ago.
Right.
But I know we're favored. We should technically probably win this game. He was telling me sort of some of the reasons why. But as the voice of the Spartans, I want to hear it from you because, I used to get out to a lot more San Jose State games than I do now, but still, there's always if we actually get to a bowl, like this is like, okay, now it's must-see television on December 20th. I'm sitting in front of the TV and I'm watching this ball game. So give us some of the information, expectations, kind of like what are the main bits of this game for Spartan fans?
Well, first of all, Brent Brennan, who's a local product, is the head coach, and he's really latched onto the university. And he came to games as a young child and kind of has a connection with San Jose State. He was here as an assistant coach a number of years ago, and then got the head coaching job back in 2017. And when he came on, the culture shift really started because San Jose State football, as you guys know, consistency hasn't been consistent for San Jose State football, and they've just been struggling to get back-to-back win seasons or just some sort of relevancy in whatever conference they've been in. And it hasn't been the case up until the last 3 years. 2020, when San Jose State won the Mountain West Conference title, they beat Boise State, who's the perennial favorite. They kind of firmly submitted their name in the conference. And in order to do that, you have to back it up. And this year, the Spartans, well, they had a couple of missteps. They still had a good season. They had a chance at least to compete for a conference title. Now they're going to a bowl game for the first time since the late 80s, 2 bowls for the same head coach in his tenure. So that's the good news. And Coach Brennan, I think, has put a staff around him that is all about making sure that the Bay Area is aware of what San Jose State is about, getting good players on the field and good players off the field. And this team in particular is a very talented one. I'm sure everybody, if you look into San Jose State, you're going to probably hear mostly about the defense for the Spartans. The player of the year in the Mountain West Conference is Viliami Fehoko. He's tremendous, just an old school type of player that is violent and fun to watch, gets into the backfield a bunch. He's 3rd in the country in tackles for loss this year. He's fun. One of the all-time leading tacklers in program history is Kyle Harmon. He's one of the linebackers. Cade Hall, who won a 2020 player of the year in the Mountain West Conference. He's still on defensive front. That group is great. And the Spartans over the course of the offseason last year, kind of like free agency, really, they with the transfer rules in college football, it's interesting because Spartans went out and got a quarterback transfer from within the conference at the University of Hawaii in Chevin Cordero, and he has been as advertised, if not better. Doesn't turn the ball over, runs the football really well, tremendous passer. And then on the edge, the Spartans brought in 2 wide receivers from Nevada, another conference school, and one of them nearly ripped off a 1,000-yard season this year in 11 games for San Jose State. So a lot of fun elements to this team, both offensively and defensively, and it makes it special, and that's why they're playing in December.
When I was growing up, my dad would take me to San Jose State games, and this is probably mid to late 80s, and the Spartans were better than Stanford and Cal back then. Like, I remember watching Mike Perez, who he's got some records from back in the day, guys like Sheldon Canley. And my frustration was always that, oh, wow, San Jose State has these good players, but they never, really played in the pros. There was a few, like, I think Ted Kennedy made the 49ers. Jimmy Johnson was a player there for a little bit. So from the perspective of, you mentioned it with the different transfer rules and stuff. And, Deion Sanders going to Colorado and basically telling all the Colorado players, yeah, you may want to look into getting out of here because I'm bringing all my Jackson State players to come over, right? So the game is a little different, obviously. How has San Jose State been able to sort of kind of bring the program back a little bit? Because you mentioned, like, even transfers in the conference, like, it just seems like it's so much of a different ball game than it was back in the day when you're just sort of building these giant programs. Does this have some sustainability? Can we expect San Jose State to be pretty good in the future as well?
Yeah, I think so. And it is a lot different the way that coaches have to recruit now, because you need the flashy elements to attract somebody, whether it be a transfer or a freshman. And now with NIL contributions too, that there's that whole side of things. But I think what the coaching staff and now the administration has done is put in a program that allows for sustainability. So off the field, there's a program called Beyond Sparta that connects student athletes to internships in the Bay Area at tech companies. Because as we all know, not every player is going to go on and have a pro career.
Sure.
All of them think they might, but at the end of the day, they have to have something out of college that they can go to as a professional. And not a lot of universities have, the opportunity for the Bay Area tech companies and all the opportunities there, but also to have a program like that to help them. So that's one attractive piece for them off the field. And then on the field, I mean, look, you have a coaching staff that's really bought in and has made a culture that is fun to be around for these guys. And I think ultimately that's really what helps draw in transfers. If they're having a bad experience or they know they're not going to get as much playing time, they're going to see this group of coaches and players and see how fun it is and want to come over here and try it out. And then word starts to spread. And that's how you get really good. That's how the Spartans a couple of years ago got Nick Starkel, who was the quarterback that was at 2 SEC schools and then transferred to San Jose State for 2 years. He wanted to be in California. He thought it would be fun, and he won a title. So word starts to go around, and then you have to build off of that, obviously. So there's new facilities that are being built and have been built on campus, because we all know it's an arms race for things on campus for student athletes to be a part of. So I think there is some sustainability, because there is a buy-in now from the university and from the administration, and the coaching staff has been able to stay intact. I mean, I can't remember what the number is, but it's the same offensive coordinator, same defensive coordinator, and same head coach for more than 3 years in a row for the first time ever.
Wow.
And they've been together for 6 years now. So it's pretty darn good. And I think that just helps the players buy in even more.
And the thing we always worry about too as Spartan fans, and a lot of the smaller colleges, I'm sure, always worry about this too. When you start to build a program and you have a great coaching staff, of course, all the other larger colleges around the country are going to start looking at that.
Right.
They're going to start putting their tentacles out there and kind of, I've heard Coach Brennan, his name was tied to Stanford for a little bit, and that's always a worry. What's kind of the rumors going around right now, or something that can make us Spartan fans feel better about the future with Coach Brennan?
Well, I think the worry always is that your coach is going to leave for another job. I mean, and Spartan fans know that, because we saw Mike McIntyre do that, and you can't fault him that they took a
Right.
team to a double-digit win season, to a military bowl, and someone came in with a ludicrous offer. And what are you supposed to say if you're Coach McIntyre? The difference to me is that Coach Brennan, one, has a very significant tie to the Bay Area and this university, but two, every step that you would think, gosh, he could leave for another job, the university has come in and helped support, whether that be more in the coaches pool, or more to facilities, or more to nutrition and health and whatever it may be. They've come to support that, to help it along, rather than in the past where it was just like, well, we can't match that number. Now maybe they can't match the salary, but they can help get the program better and keep moving forward. And that's what they've been able to do. But yeah, I mean, there's always that concern, but that's the nature of college football. When you have these multi-million, hundreds of millions of dollar budgets, sometimes at some schools that you just can't compare with.
See, Brad, if we became super rich, you and I, as alumni, we could have helped this problem. Hey, so kind of this is a more of a serious thing, but I wanted to bring it up because I know that it kind of shaped the school a little bit, and I have some friends who work on campus at San Jose State, but the young player Camden McWright, who passed away, football player, was in that terrible accident. How has that affected just not only the football team, but just the campus, when you have somebody like that who is in the community, who is a newcomer to the school, and then a tragic accident like that happens? Like, I can't, like, it's just, Brad and I are parents of, my kids are in their 20s, and just thinking about that kind of, I was just like, man, that is so tough. But how did they heal from that scenario, and if they even have been able to heal?
Yeah, I think that's the right way of saying it. You really see the stages of grief with a group that's going through it, especially a group that's 18 to 22-year-old college age students. They've never handled something like this before, a lot of them at least. And the way that it happened, and it just was awful. The running back group, I think, took it the hardest, because they were working with Camden the most, and Coach Carter, who's the running back coach, really was somebody that they could lean on. But it got to him too, and the coaching staff, they handled it as best as they could. But I mean, how do you handle something like that?
Right.
So obviously the Spartans didn't play that week, and the week thereafter was kind of a light week, and they tried to do some team bonding things, and just to try and figure out how do we handle different emotions from different players over the course of the week. But I think you're right. In a lot of ways, they're still not over it. I mean, we went to San Diego State, and they left flowers at the 6-yard line because Camden wore number 6. Utah State had 6 on their helmets when we played at their place. They painted their 6-yard line blue. Everybody's done something. So there's this constant memory and reminder of what happened. I just don't think you can expect the team to get through that at all. They handled it as best they can, but I mean, you could still drive by that intersection and there's still flowers and candles there today. So it was just awful and nothing like I'd ever seen, and hopefully I never see it again. But in addition to that, earlier this year, a former running back who was a police officer in San Jose, he also passed away, and he was on the 2020 team. So a lot of players from this team knew him. It's been a tough one for most of the guys on the team. His name was Dejon Packer. So yeah, rough. And I think being that they are tight knit, it helped him get through it. And I talked with Coach Brennan about this, and he said it on his radio show. He talked about Camden in that he was the nicest kid you'd ever meet, super friendly, come up to you, say hi. And he wasn't just saying that because of what happened to him. It genuinely who he was, which made it all the worse. And Spartans were going to play him against New Mexico State that week. That's why he was coming on the road trip. And it was just awful, just awful.
Wow.
Yeah, that's rough. That it is, and Brad and I being on that campus and walking on that campus, and that is not just a football tragedy, right? Like the entire school feels that, the community feels that, and I know that how can you be healed? You're constant. You're going to be healing from that. So, just quickly, back to the game, the 20th, December 20th. I didn't know the famous piece of this, the famous Idaho Potato Bowl. So the Spartans play Eastern Michigan, like we said. It's at 12:30 p.m. Pacific. You're gonna be doing the game.
Yeah, we'll be on site. Yep. 30-minute pregame show for us. So we'll get going at noon Pacific on 8:60 a.m.
Nice. And you don't have to make a prediction, but you got some good feeling about the team?
I did my first run through the prep last week, and I'm starting to really dive in. I think it's going to be a good game. They have a 1,000-yard rusher this year, Eastern Michigan. They got a pretty good pass rush and an okay pass defense. Spartans, I think it's going to help with a couple of weeks in between games. They had a tough back-to-back against San Diego State and Utah State on the road before coming home against Hawaii on Thanksgiving week to win that final game. But looking at the numbers and kind of the personnel, I think the Spartan defense is probably better. The run game obviously is the strength for Eastern Michigan. They're going to be pretty good. And, another aspect to think about is that it's going to be about 12 degrees, 15 degrees at kickoff up there. So we're here. I don't know if that'll change. I don't know if that favors Eastern Michigan because they're more used to the cold.
Sure.
But it's difficult to throw the ball in cold weather like that. So it'll be interesting to see how that pans out. I have all the faith though in Chevin Cordero because he just makes things happen. So we'll see. Should be a good one though.
Yeah. I feel bad for the broadcasters there with the weather.
Oh no, don't feel bad for us. We'll be in a nice warm booth. We'll kick our feet up pregame. Don't you worry.
Okay, so let's talk some Giants, and I want to start first with the baby Giants, since you're pretty close to that team. Brad and I have covered a few of the prospects, as we're talking about guys, and the person who I think we both thought was just going to kind of be in San Jose, get through San Jose, and just go to the next level fairly quickly was Will Bednar. And I know he's had some injuries that hurt him, but also just, control issues, and I'm sure it's related. But what were your thoughts on his season this year, being that he was the top pick a couple years ago and still highly touted by the organization?
Yeah, it's interesting when you see a guy that has had a lot of college experience come in because you feel like he's going to be already at the next level to vault his way up. But sometimes, that doesn't pan out as much. And I'm not saying it's not going to for Bednar, but I think the injuries did have a lot to do with kind of his slow progression and coming out of college and what the workload was for him. And when you get to the Giants, they have a certain routine and repetition, and they're very strict on your pitches count and how many innings you're going to go in a given season. So I don't know if he ever was able to get into a rhythm. with the injuries that he had and trying to find his way. But he's the guy that I'm going to root for, because when he was on, the stuff was great, and you can understand why he was such a high pick. But we just didn't see the consistency because of that in San Jose, and I'm sure he's going to figure things out. It's difficult because I think fans want to see a guy drafted that high excel quickly. But sometimes that's just not the case for a pitcher, especially, and especially for a starter that you want to try and lean on. But yeah, I just think he was really slowed down with those injuries.
I got to see him in his first start the year prior when he came in right at the end and he threw a few innings. So I got to see the first start, and my thought was, oh, like he's just going to cruise through, and then we'll, he'll have to. And so to see that happen, I was like, wow, that wasn't the guy who I saw at the end of the season. So I still have high hopes for him, and hopefully that, he can put some of that stuff behind him, because, he's somebody who should be pitching at a high level just based on his credentials and his talent.
Yeah. And I think there's a lot of Giants prospects in terms of the pitching side of things that you could say, well, gosh, these guys should be elevating quickly. And there are other guys that maybe are more that fly under the radar and get bumped up quickly, just because they've got a grasp of it sooner rather than the other guys. It's so more or less random at that level. If somebody picks it up quickly and gets the instruction and implements that instruction, they have a really good chance of excelling fast. But if there's some sort of slow progression to it, they're going to take it slow, and that's when things start to wane on a young player.
You also got to see Kyle Harrison.
Oh, yeah.
Kyle Harrison is one of my favorite San Jose Giants to come through the system. I mean, he was phenomenal, and he was one of those guys when he came in, you knew he was going to go somewhere else. I mean, he's just young, his electric fastball. He was developing multiple pitches. He already had the repertoire. I mean, he's the real deal. Now, he's a guy we will see very quickly in the bigs. And he was a guy out of high school. So it just two different directions, but that's how development works. I mean, you can never predict who's going to be the diamond in the rough.
Speaking of that too, I think Giants fans, we get a little frustrated because we're seeing other organizations with a 20-year-old being called up, and and we're hearing now about Ellie De La Cruz in Cincinnati, O'Neill in Pittsburgh this past season, and so we want to see that. We saw a taste of Elliot Ramos this past season. Didn't quite pan out. Things weren't there. Right. We need to see outfielders. We need to see prospects. You saw Vaughn Brown come through San Jose. Mm-hmm. So we keep seeing these names, and Giants fans kind of get excited, but we always know as a Giants fan, we're going to be a little bit slower than other organizations when it comes to it. In San Jose, do you see a lot of that? Do you see a lot of fans saying, well, this guy's going to move up quickly, and when they don't, they get frustrated? Because I know we say it on here a lot. We definitely want to see more prospects up, but also we want to win now. So we also want to see Aaron Judge. We want to see Carlos Rodon come back. You can't have it both ways.
Right. I mean, wouldn't that be nice? I think offensive players, it's different because, I've always heard that once you get to Double-A, the pitching is the best and your numbers can go down. But if you're a player, how do you handle your numbers going down, even though you might not be as bad as you think you are? When Elliot Ramos was here, he was dominant, and he moved up to the next level, and he struggled a little bit, and then he got some success, and now he's that teetering position of, do I make the roster for the full time, or am I a AAA guy? How do I get better? But you get different type of players. Vaughn Brown had one of the best seasons I've ever seen last year. I mean, and there was reason that he got called up as quickly as he did. He was great combination of speed, power, batting average, you name it, defense, arm, everything. And then he went up to the high A level and continued to have some success. And there are a lot of guys like that, but there are a lot of names that you don't necessarily think of just because they weren't the hot talent coming out. Like when Joey Bart was in San Jose, he wasn't here very long either. And then, he moved up, and he's kind of been up and down, and everybody's been documented about that. And then you start to question, all right, is this the right person for the position? And then opinions start flying, and you never know what happens. But at the Giants level, especially now that they're the low A, I think what's the most fun is that you get to see a lot of just raw talent, and some guys that are just in their first year or first full season having at it. Some guys figuring things out, and you just see the raw potential of what it could be. I mean, some guys are 18 years old, sometimes they're 17 years old. Luciano was outstanding, and he was just a youngster. I mean, and you think about that and you say, well, he's not going to be on the big league team for a few more years, but he was dominating the league that he was in when he was 18. So what do you do with that? I mean, I
All right, so we're gonna let Justin go here in a second, but I did want to get his thoughts on one of the stories from the big club. And for the last 2 weeks, Brad and I have been doing this little segment called the Judge Report. And we were just kind of taking all of the rumors and innuendo and stories about where Judge was going. And then we publish on Monday evening, Tuesday morning. And then I forget, it was Haniger signed, and then Judge was like a couple days after. So I promised that we would do one more Judge Report. It's going to be short on my end because I literally have one sentence to say. But then I'll open it up to you and just want to get your thoughts on the whole Judge thing that happened. But let's hit the segment here. All right. I've one statement for this Judge Report. Aaron Judge is dead to me. I tweeted that when it happened. And that's it. That's my whole Judge Report here. But Justin, I wanted to give you a chance to talk about, kind of the whole whirlwind that was that. And you being in the media, you saw John Heyman's tweet like everyone else did. And just your overall thoughts on what happened with Judge back to the Yankees.
I'll tell you this. That was the first time I'd ever rooted for a Fresno State Bulldog to come back home.
Exactly.
It's tough because all the statements and comments of the Yankees are using the Giants or Judge is using the Giants to get a better offer from the Yankees. And I don't know that I believe that. I really think that Farhan wanted to bring Judge to San Francisco. I really think that they had the offer on the table. They had the money. As much as we know that the Giants are not really willing to go long-term contract, big numbers, he was the guy that you'd want to be your franchise player. And I think they gave him the best offer as possible. And that's very difficult for Giants fans to hear because the best offer possible was given to Bryce Harper, and he didn't come here. The best offer possible was given to multiple other players that haven't come here. But ultimately, you look at that and you say, he's kind of the New York Yankee guy,
Yeah.
Do you pry Jeter in his prime away? No, you probably don't. And I think Judge is in that category. I think given the offer, if it was close, he was going to choose the Yankees. And it's a valiant effort from the Giants. It really is. And it stings as a Giants fan. But at the end of the day, it's not something that really ever seemed like it was going to truly be a reality unless it actually happened.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good point. Yeah.
I think I had said that too, right after it happened, and you saw the numbers and you saw the offers, and then it just became a reality that he really wasn't going to be coming to San Francisco. He really, really just wanted to remain a Yankee, which kind of put us behind the eight ball to begin with. And no, I believe Farhan. I believe that he doesn't think that the Giants were used as a pawn in the negotiation. And honestly, I think if the Giants would have even gone a little bit further, had they even been given the chance, I mean, from everything we've read so far, I don't even know if the Giants were given another chance to make a higher offer. Unless it was under the consideration that the Giants said, this is how high we can go, and that's it. But the reality just kind of set in that, okay, he's not our guy. He's not the guy who wanted to come here and be. And I believe leading up to it, I thought he was. And I think that's why I was hurt when the decision was made as a Giants fan. I thought all along, okay, he wants to come to his hometown team. He wants to come to his favorite team. and go forward from that. But it's a business, but again, he's a loyal guy. He's loyal to the Yankees. He's loyal to the team that gave him the chance. He's loyal to the team he's been with for the last 7 years. So,
and that's why you would want somebody like him. And I think we bought into the fact that Steph Curry is tweeting with Judge, and the Giants players are sending Instagrams.
Rich Aurelia,
right? Yeah, exactly. Like, everybody was trying to court him and bring him in. My knee-jerk reaction to it was, at least it happened early. Because could you imagine if the Giants were pursuing him, and everyone goes off the board and he's the last guy left and you don't get him? I mean, so at least now there's not, now in hindsight, that was when it happened and several pieces have fallen off the board since. But that was my first response in my head. All right, well, at least they have the money and there are other people to go out there. But free agency to me is wild because Nimmo is a good player, but he's not worth $168 million or whatever they gave him in New York. I mean, that's where the market is, and it is ridiculous. Yeah. Ridiculous.
I would have liked to see the Giants go, Aaron, 12 for 400, turn us down. And he probably would have, but then at least I would be comfortable that they had the best offer and he turned them down. I guess that's kind of what San Diego did, right?
Look, I'm glad that San Diego got turned down. Can you imagine that? After all of that, and the Padres come in at the final hour?
Yeah, that'd be crazy.
No.
All right, Justin, I think what I'm going to do on December 20th is I'm going to mute the TV and get the radio side going.
There we go.
And listen to you. But tell people where they can find you, social, anything you want to plug.
At Justin Allegri on Twitter. I'll tweet out all the links to our broadcasts and we'll get it going then. And then 8:60 a.m. KTRB on the 20th. That's where you can find us. We'll be talking Spartan football and hopefully a famous Idaho Potato Bowl victory. They get French fries dumped on them instead of the Gatorade bath.
Oh,
are they famous because they've been along for a really long time? They've been around.
Sure.
This bowl. Yeah, there you go. I like it.
Yeah. Well, I don't know where the famous came from, but it is. And I always thought I thought this is the opportunity for San Jose State to wear blue jerseys on the blue turf in Boise, because I've seen it enough on the other side.
Yeah.
But I don't know if we're going to do that or not. We'll see.
That would be cool. I love those blue jerseys. I'm, up here in Reno, it's hard to find San Jose State stuff unless you go online and purchase it, because everything you can go into a CVS, into a drugstore, and you've got UNR hats, UNR t-shirts, everything else.
Well, what size are you? We come up there for hoops this year. I'll have to connect with you.
Well, there you go. I'm a large in a t-shirt and a medium in a sweatshirt. So.
There we go.
Well, I went a couple years ago. I went searching for some San Jose State gear, and I think the student store, the student library, still is the best place to get stuff.
Yeah,
I've heard Costco's a good spot.
Oh, really? Interesting.
At least in San Jose. I'm admittedly not that I've seen personally, but I think there's some stuff there, and some local stores have some things. But yeah, the student bookstore is the best spot to go. Or come on a game day and you could buy them at the game.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah. That's the thing that I was thinking of, because I want to see the basketball team, and I have a couple of stepsons who are getting into basketball. So that might be the thing to do.
They're 8-3. They're actually looking pretty good this year.
Yeah.
Got a couple more non-conference games against UOP and Cal Poly, and then they get into Mountain West play on the 28th of December against UNLV at home.
There we go.
And awesome. I think you said they haven't had a record like this and a start like this since what, 96?
Yeah.
Wow.
96, 97, that season they had a hot start.
All right.
The best year I've seen was a 14-win season back in 2015.
Okay.
So 96 would have been Olivier St. Jean?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was that team that won the Big West tournament, went to the NCAA tournament, and lost to Kentucky in the first round because, of course, you get to play Kentucky.
Yeah.
Yes.
We were competitive in the first half, because I remember very clearly I had a midterm that day, and teacher was like, you're joking, right? There's no way I'm postponing any sort of test for any stupid basketball game. So I got to watch the first half, raced to take my test, and then by the time I was done, they were
man, before cell phones and you could get it on your phone and
Yeah,
watching class.
Yeah, exactly.
Were you at San Jose State that year, Garrett?
Yes.
I was not there yet. I was still at West Valley Junior College.
Yeah,
and,
I was
it
there,
just started
and
right after that.
I did an interview with what he's now Tariq. I did an interview with him right before the draft, actually. So we did it for the radio station. So
were you guys there for the College World Series team? That was in 2000.
I was gone. That was the year after I left.
Okay.
Funny enough, I was playing baseball with some of the guys after the College World Series. We were on a, I don't know if you remember Steve Bonomo, was a pitcher for San Jose State, but I played high school baseball with him, and we had a semi-pro team. So when that College World Series was over, a lot of those guys came back and played on that semi-pro team. So, but of course, we tried to listen to it on the radio, but at that time it was a little harder to do. But I think I was already out of broadcasting at that point.
Good stuff, man. Good luck to the team. Good luck to you. Hope you have a really great broadcast, and we'll check in. We'll check in with you, and hopefully, maybe I'll even get to see you if I come to a
swing by if you guys want to come out to a game. Let me know.
All right, man.
Sweet.
Take care.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
All right, bye.
Bye.
All right, that was fun. It was kind of it's so fun talking to people who are living out sort of the dream in the way that, for whatever reason, you and I couldn't do that, right? Like we had to kind of change gears in our professions, but I like seeing that. I like seeing Justin working for the team and, kind of doing a lot of the same things that you did. And he's been able to stick around. So that was a really cool deal there.
I know we ran out of time, but we've got to ask him next time, because we'll have him on again for sure. We're such MLB The Show fans.
Yeah, that's the thing that we didn't get to talk about.
Yeah, and he has a voice cameo. Well, I shouldn't even call it a cameo, because he's really like the radio station voice on the MLB The Show game. So if you've ever played the show and you hear the radio station, that's Justin. So
that's a little cool thing for him too. All right, so we mentioned earlier that our drinking segment, Justin was at the office, and so he couldn't obviously have a drink. He saw the Spartan logo in the background if you're watching on video. So instead, Brad and I were like, you know what, we're gonna back him up, and so we're not gonna have our normal drink. We'll bring the drinks back next week.
Yeah.
So I just have a little bit of a Swanson bone broth here that I'm sipping on during this show. So I don't know if it are we not? Is it not? Are we not as fun? Maybe are we a little bit boring today? I don't know.
I think we're just as fun, Garrett. I'm speaking for myself. I don't know. I don't know. You know what? When I have a drink when I do the show, I think sometimes I get a little faster in the mouth. So I go a little quicker with my thoughts.
It's all right.
But no, explain to me what bone broth is, because I know you talk about that. I'm pretty sure you've told me before, but if anybody doesn't know what bone broth is, hit us with that.
So I think it's just they take the chicken bones and they grind them up and they turn it into, with some of the liquid and some of the stuff, then they turn it into a broth. And what is the difference between bone broth and like chicken broth? I don't know. The bones sort of have a little bit of like a healing thing to them. I think it's just overall, it's like kind of like a good snack to have, if you're someone who snacks on like potato chips and then you had like, oh no,
yes, I do.
Drink some bone broth. It's probably better for you. But it's just kind of just this thing. Who knows if it's even all that much better than a chicken broth or something. But I dig it. I've become to like it a lot. So it's kind of like my, my snack during the day. And sometimes if I excuse me. Because I'm someone who does the intermittent fasting, so I don't generally eat until like 1:00 p.m. Sometimes if I'm like, you know what, I'm just gonna not eat until dinner, but I'll have a bone broth like between lunchtime and dinner time, and then I'll just have my one meal later in the day. Like, you know, sometimes you just feel like that, like, I'm not even that hungry. Like, let's just see how long I could push this off, and then, you know, you have a little bone broth for your meal there.
All right, I'm gonna have to try that. It's gonna be a while. I had my first old man preventative colonoscopy
Oh
last
yeah, I
week.
forgot about
And
that.
so it's going to be a while before I drink broth again. I can tell you that much because the day before you can have broth, you can have Jello,
Yeah.
you can have. I don't know. I'm a huge fan of vitamin waters, vitamin water zero because they
Yeah.
have no sugar in them.
Right.
So I had quite a few of those. Didn't sleep much, was only up for only slept about 4 hours the day before the procedure, and then had that. So yeah, so it's going to be a while before I have broth again. But I do, you know, Denise brought me some good stuff that I had last week for that. It's ginger miso soy
Oh yeah.
broth, and it was fantastic. Really enjoyed it. So I like that. I just went with I made a coffee with our Ninja coffee maker, and it's kind of like a concentrated 2 big scoops. I always do a half calf. And I made it around 3 o'clock when I was doing some like cleaning around the house while I was waiting for some help desk calls for work. And I just never finished it. So I've been sipping on it for almost 3 hours now. So,
Do you have it in like a container that keeps it warm?
yeah. Oh, yeah. This is
Okay,
the
there you go.
Corksicle is the
Yeah.
brand, and they make a Star Wars. So they have a really cool R2D2, really cool C3PO, Darth Vader one. But I thought this one, you know, Chewbacca, you can't go wrong.
There
with
you go.
Chewbacca. He's
Yeah.
kind of the baddest dude in the whole universe. So
There
yeah.
you go. All right, so we already got our judge takes out with Justin. So I want to move on and off of one Aaron Judge, and let's talk about some of the other stuff that happened. So one of the guys who was on both of our radars as not the guy to sign, but
Mhm.
an additive piece, the Giants did sign. I guess it officially signed today, but last week is when we heard. I think it was the day after we recorded. Mitch Haniger.
Yeah.
He will be an outfielder for them, and his numbers, you know, last year not as good because of injuries. He's going to have they'll probably be very safe with him as far as making sure he gets enough rest and that he's not overworked and such. Because when his bat is right, he's booming him out of the park, and that is definitely something that the Giants need, especially from the right hand side. But what was your overall take on one Mitch Haniger becoming a San Francisco Giant?
Even though he went to Mitty, I've always been a big Mitch Haniger fan. And again, power from the right side. And like you said too, with the injury history, the Giants have always done a fantastic job. You know, since Farhan came in, since Kapler came in, of platooning guys, keeping guys healthy. So you've got Lamont Wade Jr., left-handed batter, so you can platoon with Lamont Wade Jr. You've got Yaz, and I think this is a great get. It's power. I know everybody thought it was a precursor to, oh, it's going to be Haniger. Oh, then it's going to be Judge.
Yeah.
And then, oh, maybe it's going to be Correa after that. It looks like we're down to Haniger and then possibly Correa. News today is that Correa and the Twins are co-leaders for for the services of Carlos Correa, whatever that means. I don't know. We were also co-leaders for Aaron Judge. We were also co-leaders for Bryce Harper. And just keep going on down the list. But I love the Haniger get. He's not a A+ outfielder, but I think he's a B outfielder, B+ outfielder. He's an upgrade basically over Jock Peterson. Jock Peterson can now be relegated to be a DH, pinch hitter, even start the game. You can get Jock Peterson a couple ABs early in the game, and then swap him out for Haniger, and then Jock's not going to hurt you in the outfield for 7 or 8 innings. Again, if you were to tell me it's Haniger and Manea, and that's your roundup for your offseason, obviously thoroughly disappointed.
Yes.
because we went into this offseason with just buku money. If they can add Correa, and again, I'm very vocal about the fact that I am not a Correa guy.
No.
I'm just not a huge fan of Correa. But that being said, this deep into free agency, everybody we've missed out on, I would have rather have had Xander Bogaerts, much rather have had Trey Turner. But from everything we've seen, all the numbers, everything else, Correa is a better player than both of those guys. Those guys got 280 for Bogaerts, 300 for Trey Turner. I think we're probably going to be looking at like 350, probably 360, maybe even for Correa for 8 or 9 years, possibly even 10 years. And then that number could even go higher. He's a Scott Boras guy, so that
because he's the youngest. He's the youngest out of all those shortstops.
He's the youngest out of all of them. He's won a platinum glove, not just a gold glove. He's won a platinum glove, and that is the best glove in the American League for one season, and the National League gets one as well. And he won that. I think it was 2 years ago. It might have been 2 years ago. Or 2019. I can't remember exactly when it was, but he has won a platinum glove. The Giants have said they need to shore up their defense in the middle of the field. Thairo Estrada with Correa. Then again, what do you do with Brandon Crawford at that point? Is Brandon Crawford going to have to switch positions? Is Carlos Correa going to be able to play third base? Sure. Can he play second base? Most likely. So you can have a Crawford Correa infield, which would be really nice if you have a ground ball pitcher going. There's a lot of things I think you can do with Correa. Brandon Crawford's on the last season of his contract. Will he be renewed for another season? If Correa comes in, that probably gets less likely as time goes on. So I like Haniger as a step. I like Manea as a step. I don't like them as the finished product of our offseason.
Sure. Yeah. No, I'm with you. Now, okay, let's say. Now, this isn't our money, so I don't care. That's why I said
not our money.
12 for 400 for Judge. Just go for it. You got to knock this guy's socks off. They did not do that. No. What if Correa? What if that bidding gets too high? And how can you lose a bid to the Minnesota Twins, by the way? That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
If that's more embarrassing than anything, if they do not get Correa and Minnesota gets Correa.
Yeah. I mean, unless Correa fell in love with the city of or the state of Minnesota and just fell in love with the Twin Cities, I don't know.
Okay. What if you come out of this with Manea, with Hanigan, and then it's Dansby Swanson? Now, from a name perspective, I think we all feel like Dansby Swanson is a big-time letdown from the other shortstops that were out there. Though his numbers are probably a little closer to Correa's than we would even really, at least the last couple years, than we would, probably want to admit. Why is Dansby Swanson that far of a drop-off in name value from a Carlos Correa?
He is because he had a really, really good defensive season last year. But before that, defensively, he was okay. The Giants are not looking to get okay on the defensive front. They're looking to improve. The other issue with Dansby Swanson, if you're a Giants fan, and you don't like the streakiness of Belt, you're going to absolutely hate the two halves of Dansby Swanson. Dansby Swanson is a notorious slow starter. Yeah. The first 2 months of the season, you're going to be irritated. You're going to be grumpy. You're going to hate the situation you have with Dansby Swanson, but then you're going to love him the rest of the season. So I think that's why he's such a drop-off from Correa. Correa, again, being a little bit younger. I don't know if he's even younger than Swanson.
Swanson is 28. He'll be 29 in 2 months. Correa is just turned 28 a couple months ago.
Yeah, and with Correa, you've got to deal with the baggage of the cheating scandal again, as us Giants fans say. They cheated the Dodgers out of a World Series title. So who cares that much?
Yeah.
The Dodgers have already said that they're not going to pursue him because of that.
Fans,
They
yeah.
think the fans would have an issue with that. And I can see that. I mean, if that happened to us, I can absolutely see that. That would be a slap in the face.
You want to know my thoughts on that? I think it's a little bit less of that, and they've spent a lot of money of late, and they want to see if their young players can kind of come through for them. And
yeah,
I mean, it's a splashy thing to bring in a Correa, and if it's not 100% win for the fans, then you're like, okay, like what, maybe we've spent so much money of late. Maybe we take a pass here and see if we can do it. And then if not, then they just make a trade. That's, for prospects, because they have so many of them. Okay. So
just so you know, the other issue that they're dealing with, that the Dodgers are dealing with, that's been written up in the LA Times a lot lately, is they don't know how much they are going to still owe Trevor Bauer.
Yes.
Once the lawsuits are over, once everything is done, they're not exactly sure if they're going to be in the $100 million range or if it's going to be less than that, but they know it's going to be somewhere up in the 50, 60, $70 million range that they're going to owe him. And at that point, they're not going to have a whole lot of money left to play around with, because that goes towards the luxury tax cap and all that other good stuff. So
right. Okay, so the main difference is Correa is overall, he's just a better hitter, and he's going to get on base a little bit more. Their home run numbers are comparable. Dansby just strikes out way more than Correa does. So from an offensive perspective, there is a little bit of drop off to a Dansby. I don't know if it's a $200 million drop off or whatever he's going to get, but there is a drop off. And I do wonder if are you signing Dansby to play shortstop for the next 8 years or 7 years? I don't know if that is the case. Okay, so the other deal that the Giants made, and this happened last night, was Sean Manea, as we kind of hinted at when we were talking to Justin. Sean Manea had a bad year last year. He was bad.
Yeah.
They signed him 2-year deal, $25 million. He has an opt-out after the one. So just like the Correa deal where he could opt out, he is trying to put his long-term prospectus as a good player. He's trying to put that back together. And so the Giants are the team, the team that is willing to do that, right? Like they do this often, which is let's give DeSclafani a shot to reclaim his career. Let's give Rodon a shot to do it. Alex Cobb was last year. So this is kind of what they do. If this, like you said, if this is the second big hit of the offseason, I think the Giants should be under a lot of pressure from this fan base. So let's hope that it is not, because if it is an additive piece, like we said Haniger was, I think it's fine. Though I saw, Saris tweeted something to basically say a lot of his stuff was either average or below average, except his changeup had a lot of drop, and then his slider velocity. There was something about slider velocity that was good, but it's not like they're bringing in this guy to throw 97 like Rodon and get strikeouts. So that means this defense that we've been talking about has to shore up as well, because he's not going to strike out a bunch of guys. And Brandon Nimmo didn't happen. There's not many other outfielders defensively who are out there. So then you kind of go, okay, well, is it Brian Reynolds? And as we talked about last show, the price tag for Brian Reynolds is like not that far away from like the Juan Soto price tag, right? So that doesn't seem like it's in the card for the Giants. Maybe there are some other outfielders who, maybe didn't have a great year last year, who can come in and be the project or whatever for them on the cheap. That could be a scenario for the Giants. But I think that they still have some holes here. I would like to see another bat, and if that's Correa, I will be happy with that. and they probably do need another starter. So if we've mentioned Ross Stripling. I know Grant Brisbee on his write up on Manea today, he wrote, Syndergaard or Kluber or these guys who are kind of near the tail end, and they're probably one or 2 years at a high value. They do need another person, like this rotation. If they don't re-sign Rodon, which it sounds like they're not out of the running, but I don't know, Farhan and 7 years for Carlos Rodon, they don't feel like that's like a match made in heaven. So yeah, there's still a lot of question marks, I think, for the free agency here for this period for the Giants. And I know a lot of fans are pretty just like, again, are we going to do this again?
I know Susan Slusser has mentioned that we still are in the, like you said, still in the running for Rodon, 7 years. Yeah, that is, it just doesn't sound like it's us. And if it is, I say Farhan has decided that and management has decided we need to start kind of going with what the trends of free agency are right now. The trends of free agency. I mean, if we get Rodon for 7 years and some ridiculous amount of money, all of a sudden Giants fans are also going to look at, why didn't we get Gossman for 5 years, 100 and whatever million it was last year? They're going to be frustrated by that. But Carlos Rodon, if he can stay healthy, is a dominating pitcher, as we've seen.
Yes.
And we would enjoy that for the next 7 years, possibly more like the next 4, maybe 5 years. But yeah, there's still a lot. Brian Reynolds, another one, frustrating, because as a Giants fan, we had him and now we have to give up prospects to get him back. So that's a tough pill to swallow. Center field is going to be a very difficult. And again, I don't doubt that at some point Farhan can pull off a trade for a center fielder, a defensive center fielder. At some point, we're talking maybe even April, May. I mean, he's done it before. Kevin Pillar's out there, by the way. No, I'm kidding. We've already gone down that road. So yeah, like you were saying too, with Manea, really rough against right-handers, but if he can pitch to contact, if he can drop his walks down, I think his walks went up from what I was reading to like 7.3 per 9 this past season. But he's always been a control guy. So that's an outlier, and they've gone up and up and up. He's a fast worker. And now with a pitch clock, that's going to be a good thing. He works as fast as Logan Webb does. So you've got 2 fast starters. Keep the defense on their toes, and again, got to shore up that defense. So Carlos Correa up the middle. Again, Carlos Correa at second base, Crawford at shortstop, and then Tyro can come off the bench or spell those guys on off days. And Tyro, he really came around as a defender towards the second half of the season last year. So I don't discount him as much. I know his defensive metrics were just god awful at the beginning of the season, but man, he still makes some great plays. Still some bonehead plays around the bag at second base, as we've seen that before. And then you're going to have Lamont Wade Jr. as of right now over at first base. So yeah, there's still a lot of work to do. I hate to see the report cards. We've already seen report cards that are coming out for the off season. It's not even Christmas yet, and we're getting report cards for the off season. You can go to the MLB free agent tracker and still see hundreds of free agents out there. I mean, it's not over yet. It's long ways to go. Yeah.
All right. Well, the free agency will probably keep us busy throughout the end of this year as we we only have what is that? Two more shows. Let me think. So 19th and then 26th. And then 2 more shows for the end of the year. This is episode 129, by the way. That's how many shows we've done.
Wow. We might have to do the 20th. I think the Rams play Monday night.
Okay.
Next week in Green Bay, the frozen tundra, with the great Baker Mayfield.
And then on the 20th, we'll be able to recap the Spartans game too.
That's true. Yep.
All right. So we are done here. I want to thank Justin for jumping on with us. And it's nice to see somebody from our alma mater, still doing good stuff, and hopefully he gets his name out there even more. Really cool story, and I'm glad that we were able to chat with him, and hopefully, like you said, we'll chat with him again down the line, maybe during the season when the San Jose Giants are playing again. All right, so for Brad, I am Double G. We'll see you when we see you. Peace out.
Peace.